Hello, it's Ivaldi Sako. Welcome to the show. I'll get straight into it. This leadership and communication masterclass will blow your mind. It will make you a better communicator. It will make you a great leader, and it will make you extremely confident, even when you used to not be very confident at all. And it will make you confident in all situations, because this you can take with you everywhere. So the plan for today is this. I'll tell you about a leadership story during my trip backpacking in Portugal, the 3 universal laws of communication that I got from a master in communication and a magician called Vinh Giang. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. And I'll also give you a free self-assessment exercise to have a personal roadmap, an actual roadmap to your specific situation, and in your specific situation become a great communicator, like a way better communicator than you are now. Also, forgive my English, it's been a while since I've been practicing, but if you bear with me, you will not regret it. You will very much enjoy not only this podcast because it will give you a lot of value, but also your life, because it will improve that much better. Because if you're anything like me, you are either an entrepreneur, someone ambitious, someone that wants to succeed, someone that wants to make their life better, and you're also maybe pretty smart for wanting to learn from the mistakes of others rather than just making the mistakes on your own. And if you are like this, well, this show is for you, my friend. This show is for you because this is what I do here. I tell you about the best things I learn, whether it's from my entire books that I read, courses, masterclasses, my experience and mistakes. I take the most valuable lessons that I learn every day, every week on this podcast, and I tell you about it for free so that you don't have to make them and you can succeed faster and have a better life faster, right? And prevent yourself the painful mistakes that you could make on your own. So I really believe staying with us on this podcast for the entirety of it will allow you to improve your life so much that it's going to be the best use of your time. And also, the next episodes will be a great use of your time as well. So I would suggest you subscribe right now to not forget and miss the next episodes. And we have a little fee on this show is that when you get a little value from this show, some value out of this show, well, you share it. You share it with your friends, all your followers, whatever, right? But if you don't get any value out of it, you don't share it. That's simple. This is our little agreement here. Thank you. So let's get into it. The leadership story that I'm going to tell you was taking place. Let me put my glasses on so that I can read to you my notes and be very concise and clear. The leadership story was in Portugal, and a trip that I was on with 265 people. It was more precisely a pilgrimage, right? So a religious trip. Now, it has nothing to do with religion, so even if you're not religious, you will take away a lot from this. And at the end of this religious trip, the pilgrimage, we were all gathered around, and the priest of our community, it was like our leader, did a little talk, right? He did a little, a little talk to conclude, to finalize this trip. And he did something that I recognized as true leadership. He taught me something very useful, and I'm going to tell you how he did that and what it was exactly. What he did is that he took the time aside at the end of his little talk and he thanked everyone. He just said, "Thank you, everyone." And then he aligned all the 20 people. He told them, "Okay, come on." All the we're going to call them managers right now, and the managers of the trip, right? And he just thanked them one by one, right? Each and every single one of them. And he was saying things like this: "Thank you, John, for being," he was like, "John, thank you for being always positive, for bringing your particularly positive energy to all the groups, for showing up with a smile each day, and being there for us when we needed you the most. Thank you, John. And we all started clapping for John. Then he turned toward Lucy. By the way, he said a little more than that. I just don't remember everything. And he turned to Lucy and said, Lucy, even when the time is not perfect and the conditions are really not great, you always find a way to make it work. And you do that even though you have so much on your plate already. You give your all for us. Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. This is what he said. And then we all clapped. And this went on for the other managers. He thanked each and every one of them with precision on the compliments. Now, what I told you right now was not even precise enough. He was staying like 5 minutes on the person and saying greatly precise compliments on them. And he also thanked the whole group with precise compliments as well, because he knew each and every single one of us. He talked to pretty much everybody that was on this trip, right? He got a sense of what we were about, how we think, what we do, what are our values. He got a sense of what's the conversation like in the group. He knew us, like he actually knew us. And so when he went on to give compliments, he was as well precise. He was like, you knew he had the relationship with everyone here. He knew everyone personally. He had a relationship with everybody. And that's the key point here. I noticed that because I noticed that I was not able, I'm not yet able to do that, especially with large groups of people. I don't have, maybe the memory to really remember a lot of things about a lot of people at the same time, especially in a short trip like this. It was 2 weeks and he just gathered a lot of data, and people noticed, they noticed that he cared. He actually cared. And this is something that makes you a great leader. This is something that, when you have a relationship with people, people know that you care, and so people trust you. They like you and they listen to you. They view you as someone that can actually lead them. So this is a way to become a great leader. Take that and try to have better relationship. Try to be more interested toward people. Actually genuinely want to know what's their life like, what are their opinions on different things, so that you can immerse yourself in the conversation that they are in. And this is valuable for your team, this is valuable for your clients, this is valuable for the people in your life, or your relationships, even if you don't have a business, right? You can become the leader by actually caring the most about the other people, serving them. And in trying to serve them, you become the leader. By trying to be the least important and trying to do the most for everybody, you end up being the leader. Another way to become a leader, and another skill of a leader, is communication and being a great communicator. And so right before this moment when he thanked us, when the priest thanked us, there were two speakers, two men who were to become priests as well. And they did two little talk as well. And I'm going to tell you here the difference between a great public speaker and a bad public speaker. And public speaker is also, could also be defined as someone that is just a communicator. You could be a public speaker in your little group of friends, right? It doesn't matter if you're on a stage or not, right? And actually we were not on a stage at this moment. And so the first one didn't have any notes. He talked on the spot with an open heart, right? And he almost seemed like he had no preparation. His stories were kind of a mess, and he was going back and forth pretty much all the time. He repeated himself multiple times, and at the end it kind of bored us, right? Even though we cheered for him, we clapped for him, he was giving a testimonial of how his life changed and he decided to become a priest. It was great, but the story was not that great, right? The way he presented it, the way he communicated it was not great. It could have been that much better. And so the second one came. He had notes. I believe bullet points. Not sure, but I believe it was bullet points because the way he was, checking back and forth. And he had a clear message, right? He knew where he wanted to get to. He had a clear starting point of his story, right? And he had also a clear end to his story. And in between these two, he had 3 clear takeaways, 3 key lessons that he could take from this. And even if he looked at his notes from time to time, he had our attention with the simplicity and clarity of his message. Like, it was not a mess. Like, it was not making a mess in our brain, going back and forth between multiple stories. It was just one story, simple, clear, concise, and it hooked us. Like, I remember the story. I don't remember pretty much anything from the first person. And actually, to tell you even that, I didn't even take notes on the first one, and I took notes on the second one. And that's because of this clarity of the message. There was a clear message that he wanted to give, and he gave this. Nothing else, nothing extra, nothing additional, too much information that was not useful for the purpose of giving the message. And here are the notes that I took from this talk, because, by the way, I didn't take notes on the first one. So the second one, I took those notes on it. I believe they could be useful to some of you. So, why he chose to become a priest? Grieving. He wanted to help his loved ones who were grieving. So that's the first takeaway. So in the suffering, he found that he had a desire in the suffering of his family. He had the desire to help them. And he noticed, okay, I can't help them. I don't know how to help them. Who is the most probable to be able to help them? And it was the priest in his community. So then he decided, okay, I want to help people like this. I'm going to become a priest. So this is what the first thing that he got him to, okay, maybe I ought to consider becoming a priest. Then he had the desire to help the church. Like, he lived in the church and he wanted to help there. He liked the community and everything in it. And then he had a World Youth Day experience. It was like, it's the pilgrimage that we were on here. So it's like all the youth, all the young people of the world gathering around and meeting the Pope. And that's his experience that made him push, because he was somehow touched by something, right? He had an intuition that, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And these are the things that he said that took my attention. And by the way, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the communication part in a second. So, discernment does not happen on its own. We need a spiritual father. So this might be for you a mentor. You need a mentor. You need to be able to discern. You need some other perspective than your own. Then he said something that really rang something in me, right? Rang a bell in me. Like, I was like, this is true. This is very true. Inner peace and joy. When you feel that, when you feel inner peace and joy, it's the sign that we are doing the will of God. It's a sign that you are on the right direction. If you are not religious, if you don't believe in God, it's the right. When you feel the sense of inner peace and joy, you could be on. It's a sign, at least, that you are on the right direction. It's not necessarily the case, but it is a sign. So, take it as what it is, a sign. It's not necessarily the case. You could be, having inner peace and joy in vacation, And you're not necessarily meant to be all the time, always in a vacation. But when you're doing something and you progress into it, a career, and you feel this sense of inner peace and joy, it most likely is a sign that we are doing the will of God. That you are going in the right direction, again, for the non-believers. God gives what he commands. If he asks you for something, he will give you the means to accomplish it. Ask God by praying him for him to give you his grace. So, what happens in your life? Whatever challenges you have, if you have the desire to create something and you go on this path and you try to create and you see a lot of challenges and it's a lot of work and you don't know how you're going to make it happen, just trust. God gave you this desire, okay? He gave you this desire. He will give you the means to accomplish it. He will give you, if there is a problem in your life, you have the ability to solve it, right? You have the ability to pass through. If it's not the case, it wouldn't be in your life, okay? This is a belief that I believe is necessarily like even true in reality, but also it's true to believe, because if you believe that, you're going to take the action necessary to actually solve those problems. So either way, whether you believe in God or not, it's very useful to believe that thing. God gives what he commands. Then I noticed that everything starts with awareness of your current situation. I was reminded of this. Everything starts with awareness of your current situation. And you must know where you are to know which path to take toward where you want to go. So you have a current situation that you are in right now. You must know where you are right now and know where you want to go, right? If you know where you want to go, but you don't know where you are currently, you're going to take the wrong path. Because you might think you need to take left when in fact you had to take right. Because you didn't know exactly where you were on the map. So know where you are on the map. And this is what I'm going to help you do. So if you want to become better at communication, you must first become aware of of how you currently communicate. And here's a great exercise you can do for that. That's from Vinh Giang, who is a great communicator, public speaker, and a magician. I participated to one of his masterclass and it was very good. One of the best ones I've seen. And before sharing with you the exercise on self-awareness, let me share with you the notes I took from his masterclass, because this is going to really help you out. Like really. Let's get started. Communication masterclass of Vinh Giang. I took a lot from this. And I'm also going to tell you how he did his masterclass, because I believe it will serve you to know how to sell. Right? It's the process of selling. If you want to sell in masterclass, for example, through video, or even in your sales process, whatever it is, or in your life, it's also going to serve you to be able to be more persuasive. And communication is also about that, right? So, he said that this is how this masterclass is going to go. So he just prefaced his masterclass. At the beginning, he was like, hey, hello, I'm super excited to be here and everything, right? As usual. And then he said, this is how this masterclass is going to go. Then, first, I'm going to give you context on my story, on my background and everything. He didn't say it exactly this way, but this is what he did, right? Then I'll share with you the most powerful lesson from the magic industry that applies to communication, the 3 universal laws of communication, how you can work with me moving forward. Right now he's preparing you to, like, you basically by continuing forward, you agree that he will sell to you, right? So this is a great way to do that. Then if you stay at the end, we'll pick 3 lucky winners to my stage communication class of a value of $1,000+. And don't worry, if you don't win, we're gonna get you a free access to a self-assessment exercise at the end. So he incentivizes you to stay up until the end. As a magician, people say that success comes from focusing on one thing in particular. Technical SKE. Technical skill, technical knowledge, technical experience. And then he said that he stumbled upon the book Strong Magic by Darwin Otis. And in this book, he learned the word showmanship, which is a fancy word for communication skills. And he was focusing on skills. But another critical ingredient to becoming a magician, a great magician, is showmanship. Because you are only as good as you can communicate it. You can be the best magician in the world, but if you can't communicate it, nobody's going to know about it. Nobody is going to feel it, even. And so you need both technical and communication skills. If you're great at both, reality becomes negotiable. So you can do pretty much anything that you want if you're great at and the technical side and the communication side of things. This is basically like having a product and being good at selling it, marketing it, right? This is the communication part and the technical part. And then he proved to us that he was good at both by showing us that he got paid $110,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for one single hour of a keynote. That's pretty good. Imagine getting paid $110,000 for 1 hour. That's pretty sick. And so if you improve this skill, what does it mean for you? He asked us this question to involve us and to tie what we want from getting better at communication to his program that he wants to sell us afterward. So he was saying a lot more confidence, a lot more influence, becoming a great public speaker, having better relationships. So all these things are the end result of being better at communication. If you don't know how to communicate, you're not going to have deeper and meaningful relationships as much. You're not going to have influence over people. You're not going to be convincing people of things. Persuasion is basically communication. So all those things are crucial. So communication is crucial to all these things. And then he gave us the 3 universal laws of communication. And these, please listen up, because these are very important. Even the second one, even though you might think it's very, obvious, it's not. Key number 1, the first universal law of communication. 88 keys. He learned that from his vocal coach. So 88 keys means that your voice is an instrument and you need to play with your instrument. You don't use it. So using it would be just hitting one note, right? Toot, 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 right? Don't use it, play it. And then you make a melody. And then you, right? I'm just emulating a piano somehow. Anyway, so use all the 88 keys. Go high notes and low with your voice, right? I'm not the best communicator, right? So this is why I took this masterclass, right? And in this podcast, I train myself to become a better communicator. And even if you think it's not genuine and it feels fake, it's not fake. You're just not used to do that. If you can hit those keys, it's genuine because it's your body, it's your voice. Like you can do this. Some other people can't hit those notes. So they are your notes. You're just not used to do this. And all we need is to become more familiar with it, with all this range of keys that you can hit. And so we need to reframe, because a lot of his clients, for example, tell him, I can't hit those notes. I can't talk like this, right? I can't talk like this. Why would I speak this way? It's not natural to me. I'm not naturally talking like this, right? Well, you need to reframe fake and phony too unfamiliar. You're just not used to this, right? That's it. And right now I'm noticing that I'm using a lot of the word right at the end of the sentence. And this is a non-filler word that I need to stop using, which I'm going to tell you about later. The second universal law of communication is only practice will lead to improvement. Now, mind you, this is not obvious. Some areas of study where an understanding of the stuff is enough. There are some areas of study where an understanding of the stuff that you're studying is enough. But in communication, you must practice. Just like in music, you must practice the stuff you learn. The way you speak now is just a behavior. That's why you can change the way you move your mouth and take another accent. He was taking the Texan accent, then the Scottish accent. He was doing it very good. Even the Asian accent in the beginning. And this is just the proof. Like you move your mouth in a certain way that makes certain sounds. So it's just like a habit of movement. For example, I could take the French accent right now. I could take the French accent right now and speak like this. Okay, it's not natural to me to speak like this, but I feel like it's just that. Okay, I can speak like this, just like I would speak in French, but I don't do that, right? I don't do that. I actually try to speak in English with another accent. It's not the same accent that I use in French. The way my mouth moves is different. So it's just the way you speak. The way you speak is just a series of behaviors. And it's getting very, very hot right now. I'm just going to open the door of my car, I think, just to let it cool off a little bit. Maybe there's going to be some sound. I don't know if it's very professional to do that, but we're in between us right now, right? We're family, okay? Because I'm just dying hot right now. Whew. I hope you don't hear too much things, but his student says, oh no, that's not my natural voice. But the voice you have now and the way you sound now is just a habit, right? You must really believe that it's just a habit, because it actually is. And because it becomes invisible to you, then you think it's natural, but it's not natural, it's habitual, right? Habitual. So you can change it. You can change the way your mouth moves. That makes different sounds. So you can change the way you sound. Number 3, the third law of communication. And is the rule that allow you to detect the invisible things. Just like we talked about, the habits that you take. And he told us about it when he was telling us about a story where his clients told him, okay, so Vin, that's his name, Vin. If I move my hands around like this, if I move around on stage a lot, is it a problem? If I talk extremely fast, is it a problem? And he was saying, yes, if it's distracting people from the message. And that's the key. You can do whatever thing you want, as long as it's not distracting people from the message, as long as it helps make the message clearer, right? More clear, more concise. Well, you can do this. If I speak and I just do weird movement with my hands and this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, of course, it's not okay. Of course, it's a problem because it's distracting people from the message. And these are the 3 rules, the 3 laws of communication. If you respect those, you'll be much better at communication. Now, there's also a confidence part. And it was telling us that why confidence is directly linked to communication. And he learned something called contextual. I'll say that again. He learned something called contextual confidence. And this is very important. he was telling us about a story with his friend when they were in school, in some grade. Him and his friend Kevin. I'll close the door now because it's making a little too much noise. And this is very important. When Kevin was holding his ukulele, first of all, Kevin and him were the two shy kids in class and didn't talk to girls. They were alone in the corner and just talked to each other, right? They were the very non-social students in class. And it was always this way. One day, Vin goes to class and he sees Kevin with his ukulele, playing it and talking to girls, talking to everyone, being very social, laughing, making jokes, being extremely confident. And he was completely mad at him. Anyway, the next day he comes back. Kevin's back in his group. Not social, very uncomfortable, very not confident. Not confident at all, right? And he noticed later that when he became a magician, he had his cards in his hands and he went to talk to people and he was extremely social. He was extremely confident. He could talk to anyone, make them laugh and everything. Once he got rid of his cards of magician, it's not that he did not become a magician anymore. It's just that, well, I guess it's that he didn't have the contextual confidence anymore. He didn't have his cards and his confidence was gone with them. And this is why you need to be good at communication. The reason being good at communication and using your voice the right way, being able to use it completely, is because it gives you the contextual confidence in all time, at all times, in all places. And so you are confident everywhere because you can't leave your voice at home like you would leave your cards or your ukulele. You're confident at all times. When your contextual confidence comes from your voice, you can't lose it, right? Unless you don't speak, well, at this point you don't really need to be confident because you're not going to speak, but you're just confident at all times. Every time that you can speak, you're confident. And this is where social anxiety comes from, I believe, where you don't know how to speak properly. You just stress out about how you're going to sound. You don't know how to use your voice. You're not used to it. You're not used to talk to certain types of people. Then it helps a lot to have this contextual confidence. And then after that, he told us the habit that he loves the most is his ability to allow himself to dream up to the most crazy life. And a question that to inspire himself is, Vin, how are you going to change the world? And this is a way that he had to introduce his program. And I'm going to tell you about his program because it will also help you become a better communicator. And so he said that he wants to change the world outside of just the corporate world he's been serving for the last 10 years. Now he wants to change the world. He wants to serve everyone. And he wanted us to judge if he is a good teacher for us. And so he told us about his modules. So in the first module, Module 1, is his keynote, which he charges for $150,000. So already in his program, you have the value anchor, right? This is very valuable, and maybe this is valuable in and of itself to buy to the price of the program. Module 2, the foundation. He goes deeper in the universal laws. And this is the concept of giving people what they want, giving people more of what they already bought. Because basically right now, you just listen to that, you already bought the 3 laws of communication, right? You already bought them, you listen to them, you are happy because they taught you something. Now, you want more of this because it will help you even more. So he gives you even more than that, deeper in this. And also he teaches you the difference between vocal image and visual image. Most people focus on how they look and not how they sound. Then, module 3, vocal mastery. One of the foundation of communication is using volume, higher volume and lower volume to improve the message. It's basically how do we use our voice to make people feel something. Because usually the contrast between speaking very loudly and whispering, this is the difference that makes people feel things. Unless you do it right now as an example, of course. Module 4, vocal archetype. The different ways you use your voice. There's different kind of speakers that you can become. He was giving example of Les Brown, Oprah Winfrey, other type of speakers. You can either educate people, inspire them by the way you speak. For example, to inspire people, you're going to use a lot of different volumes, right? You're going to have a different pitch, a different melody. But when you try to educate, you're mostly going to stop at precise points, right? You're going to, speak kind of the way I do right now, by trying to teach people things, trying to document, or to speak and give context and not necessarily motivate, and be very aggressive with how you speak and communicate, because this is how Les Brown does it, right? I'm doing a very bad imitation, of course. I was almost about to try to do a Scottish accent as well, a British accent as well, earlier. I just prevented myself from doing this, fortunately. Anyway, so module 5 is storytelling. And this is the most powerful skill in the world. And he asked us a question that was very, very, very good. And before that, let me open the door. Not now, because I'm just dying hot right now in my car. He said, "Do you feel a sense of connection with me?" And the answer was obviously yes. Obviously. We felt attached to him. And he said, "You feel more connected with me than people you knew forever. Like coworkers or some of your, friends that are not necessarily your best friends, but, some of the friends, because I'm taking up space in your head with my stories." And he told us a lot of stories. And he asked this question as, "Do you remember in which room I was when my father told me that he would do everything for me and for my dreams?" And the answer was yes. Everybody knew. I knew that it was in his kitchen that he said that. Do you know which job I had before, or which studies I was studying before I became a magician? And everybody knew. Accountant. Because he structured the story in a way that made it clear, concise, easy to remember, and it made it stick in our brain. So we know pretty much all his life. And it just sticked automatically, right? We didn't have to learn it. It's just the story made it stick. And when you structure your stories the right way, information becomes sticky. Storytelling leads to better connection with people. So you need to become a better storyteller. And this is an insane skill to have. I'm trying to develop it here and there by trying to tell stories on this podcast. I'm not great at it yet, but I'm making progress, I believe. Especially when you watch the first podcasts. Module 6, body language. How to get standing ovation by commanding it. This is hilarious. And I need to open the door right now because I'm dying hot, but this is very, very funny. He was giving, talks, and he was giving a great keynote, and he knew people loved what he talked, how he talked, and all the value that he gave, but he was not getting a standing ovation, and he couldn't help but wanting to have one, and he wanted to figure out how to get one. He asked one of his coach, and he said, "You need to command it. You need to command a standing ovation." And he showed us how he did that in video. First very fast and then in slow motion. And it was hilarious. What he did was that if you're watching the podcast on YouTube right now, it's going to be much more, you're going to see more what he was doing, because I'm not going to be explaining too much, but basically he was saying, okay, thank you, raising his hands. Thank you. And then he bowed down, and then when he raised his head up, he locked eye contact with the person in front of him in the first row, right? He locked eye contact, and then when he raised his hands again, he just did like get up, like a movement, get up, and then he said thank you. And then when he said get up by locking eye contact with the first person is like, oh, I guess I have to get up, and so he gets up, and everybody follows in the crowd. And I found that so hilarious, because he's just like giving an order to people with his hands, like it was, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And he's doing this very, very fast. It's just hilarious. If you can just check his the last part of his keynotes or something, it's going to make you laugh for sure. Module 7 of his course is AMS, Analogies, Metaphors, and Similarities. So having a lot of these in the back of your head, metaphors, I'm the worst at this. I don't have any metaphors. I don't have any analogies, similarities. People, for example, give a lot of metaphor to food because they love food, or maybe they're a cook, and so they make reference to food, and this makes people think of things differently, and it makes it even like when you speak with them, they make you remember. It makes you be remembered more by those people that you speak to. Module 8, active listening, making people feel seen and understood. This is basically, just listening, like saying, okay, I understand, okay, and not saying this, but like making with your body language, making people feel with your body that you're actively listening to them, being like looking at them in their eyes and everything. Module 9 is confidence, because when you're confident, you do things better. He was talking about Kaizen, the Japanese philosophy that says about continuous progress, and when you make continuous progress towards something, you become more confident. And so after that, I took 2 action steps. I would, for me, even before he said to record yourself, I wrote down record yourself and rewatch the video, asking yourself what distracts people from the message. Then write the feedback of things to take off and change to stop distracting people from the message and improve the way you communicate with those 3 laws, which, by the way, I was supposed to read those things that I've concluded on the self-awareness PDF that I'm going to give you right now. And I forgot to read the to-do list that I had to do to become a better communicator, so I did not really apply what I learned on this podcast, unfortunately. Hopefully in the next one I won't forget. And also we had to apply the self-awareness program to become self-aware. And I'm going to give you the 5 steps right now of this self-assessment to become a better communicator. I'm getting tired here. And here they are. Step 1, record a 5-minute video of yourself. This video needs to be improvised, and if you need ideas, answer 3 of the following questions of the video. I only did 1, and I did it for like trying to go deeper in it. I suggest you just stick to this. Answer 3 of the following questions on the video. Were there any big turning points for you this year in 2023? Have you learned any impactful lessons lately? How did you meet your partner? How close have you come to death? What's the best advice anyone has given you? What's the greatest advice you've ever received? Anyone has given you? What's the greatest gift you've ever received? How did you end up here? Those are some of the examples of the questions. Then, step number 2, you leave the video for 24 hours. You don't do anything with it, you just leave it, because, and this step is important, he tells you, because when you watch the video right away, you'll be extremely self-critical. You won't like the look of your hair, you will dislike the way you sound, and many other things. So you leave the video for 24 hours, you create space and distance, and you will be able to review the video with less cringe. And tomorrow, so right now I suggest you, right after this podcast is done, you take a second with your phone and record a 5-minute video to just assess where you are. It's no pressure, all right? Nobody was going to see this. It's just you trying to see how do you communicate. And then I suggest also you then get an example of how a great communicator for you, a great communicator that you would want to be like, speaks. And notice the difference. So, let me close the door. Okay. The second day, right, tomorrow, you do an auditory audit. You turn up the volume on your playback device to max and then look away from the playback device so you are not able to see the video and just listen to your vocal qualities. And specifically listen to 1, the rate of speech, 2, the volume, 3, the pitch and melody, 4, the tonality, 5, pause. And you answer those questions. What do you notice about these qualities in your voice? What do you like? What don't you like? What do you want to improve on and work on? This process helps you build awareness. It helps you tremendously build awareness. Then you do a visual audit. You put on a mute your device, and so you only watch, you don't listen to it. You only watch yourself muted and notice how you speak. And you notice the posture, the hand gestures, the facial expressions, the movement, and the eye contact. As you isolate the visual, what do you notice about these 5 areas listed above? What do you like? And what can you improve on? After that, non-words and filler words. Get the video transcribed. He uses rev.com. You can use another one. He's not affiliated with it. I'm not either. And once you get the transcription, you highlight in red the non-words, so the sounds we make to fill the silence, like and the filler words. So right, you know, all those things. I do a lot of this. And I was supposed to not say right at the end of each sentence, but I did. I forgot to remind myself of this. And you want to become aware of the sounds and words that we often use that add no value to our everyday communication. The goal is having a clear message. Okay, clear message. This is a goal. Hopefully this self-awareness, self-assessment thing helps you a lot. Now you are ready to become a way better communicator than 99% of people and increase everything in your life, because everything is about communication. Everything is about speaking to people. And if you like this podcast, leave a like, subscribe, to not forget and miss the next episodes. And at the end of the communication podcast, I'm not communicating right because I'm so tired and I'm so hot. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you on the other podcast. Okay, bye. And apply everything that you learned, please. Bye.